So the core principle of the OK era is that by understanding our origins, we gain clarity for the future. So now for our listeners, Susan, what are some of the long-standing truths or old wisdoms in TA that you find most relevant for today's complexities? What wisdom still holds deep power?
I want to once again underline that the idea of core okayness of every human being and the capacity to think in all of us has played a significant role in my life and that of my clients and trainees. This ability to differentiate between person and behavior makes us see change in our interactions and the way we view people and what they do. This helps me interact with others, trusting them, having faith in myself, trust in them, and the provision and protection of the universe. Two statements that stem from this are I love and approve of myself, and I trust the process of life. I affirm these every day and notice with joy the reality of it in every day of my life. These statements I took from Louis Hay, but I think they are also the core of TA. And that's where integration is so important. Difficulties and challenges are a given in life, but these are opportunities for us to discover ourselves and grow and change. To realize that physis is waiting to be released in order to take us forward as we learn from life's events. The physis has been limited by our vulnerabilities and coping strategies that we developed in order to survive, in order to get our needs met, and in order to make meaning of the world as little children. And now, with our present adult awareness, this can be cleared. Decontamination can happen. Deconfusion can happen. And physis can take us forward. Another important concept is the power of strokes. It is in giving, we receive. We have got many rules about strokes, the stroke economy which Steiner talks about. And when we understand that and drop all the don'ts that limit us, we can ensure the flow of energy within us, from us to others, and from them to us. I believe this is what keeps us healthy and happy. Burns says it prevents our backbone from shrinking and giving up.
You see how truly internalized this is for you, Susan, as you spoke. I almost felt there is a spiritual quality to TA when you talked about person and behavior and how they're separate. I think that's also integrated into this. What do you think?
I totally agree with that. In fact, ICTA ran a conference which was titled TA and Spirituality. And they had brought in various religions, people from various religions, to speak at that conference. And Father George connected it with TA. I had a similar experience when I trained in Gestalt. I certainly think therapy is not just about dealing with everyday influences, but it also leads to self-actualization.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing that, Susan. And finally, for a diverse audience, Susan, what advice would you offer on how to approach TA and what difference it can truly make in their lives?
Each person's learning style is different, and we learn and apply things based on what we like and What's important is for us to feel free to explore whatever way we want to. It could be cognitive learning followed by action. It could be action explained by learning. That does not matter. It's about making sure our learning impacts us at all levels: cognitive, affective, behavioral, physiological, and spiritual. Having said that, I found that learning and teaching, which I do, follows the Kim Sumbing's valuing model. This model talks about 4 levels: knowing, understanding, valuing, and active. And this is not a linear flow. The beauty of TA is that we have a bouquet of concepts from which we can choose. Therefore, knowing ourselves, others, and the situation using our knowledge of TA concepts helps us understand the concept and us and our context. This helps us value our okayness, the okayness of the space in which we are, and helps us design the change we want to make. Another valuable aspect of TA is that we can use it at all the levels, like I said: cognitive, affective, behavioral, spiritual, and physiological. Hence, TA tools keep us healthy and also work through psychosomatic ailments. I was working with a client who was working with a doctor, and I had no idea what he was working with the doctor with. One day he came back and said, my doctor was so surprised that my sugar levels, which he was unable to control even with medicine, has dropped. And he kept asking me, have you gone to Ayurveda? Have you gone to something else? And I kept saying, no, I've not gone anywhere. I've not gone anywhere. But persistent inquiry by the doctor made me realize that I have been working with you. And I told him that. And that was the first time I had this aha moment that in building relationships and enjoying the sweetness of life, helped the man heal his diabetes. I had had the book by Louis Hay, You Can Heal Your Body, from 1995. However, this experience made me look at it again, to review it. And I started using that book as part of my diagnosis. After I had made the TA diagnosis, I would also look at the illness, and the diagnosis just absolutely matched. Thereafter, many doctors have sent people to me. And I built up this practice of working with psychosomatic ailments. And the change that is seen there is dramatic and so meaningful for the client and me. It can be used by the common man, and it also has the depth for the practitioner to use it effectively in implementing change through education, coaching, counseling, psychotherapy, or organizational consulting, to name a few. This wide range of TA application is one of the powers of TA. In the TA Study Circle, which organizes programs for personal growth and change, people from various fields come and make presentations. And while I was an active part of their board, I would make a TA connection to the concept that they have taught. And it was fascinating to see that even when a photographer spoke about his work, a TA connection could be made. And this, I think, is the power of TA. As I said earlier, learning is best in a relationship. And hence, I would invite all those exploring TA to find a setting in which they can build this safe and secure relationship, which enhances learning.
Thanks for the personal experience you shared, Susan. And I'm thinking of our listeners among them organization leaders, and wondering, for a senior leader who's wrestling with complex org challenges, and maybe in educational institution, teachers, how can this TA lens, particularly by understanding the origins of their team's dynamics, truly make a difference in their leadership and in their context?
Problems and conflicts, whether between individuals or in the organization as a whole, is a given. And I think there is no organization anywhere that I have come across where it does not exist. This is because all of us discount. And discounting is necessary sometimes for us to just exist. For example, at a given moment, there are thousands of stimuli coming to me. And if I were to process all of them, I would just go mad. No? And therefore, inbuilt, we have certain survival strategies by which we discount. However, sometimes we are discounting important aspects of reality, namely ourselves, the other, or the situation. And this leads to problems, whether it is with individuals or in organization. These discounts are influenced by individual scripts and also the scripts and beliefs of leaders and founders of organizations. So there is very often an interlock between individual scripts and organizational scripts. Sometimes people who have a completely different script get thrown out. Sometimes some of them start bringing in change. But this change can happen only if they work alongside the existing script. Like we look at the martial arts, it's not about fighting against something. It's about using the power of the existing structure to make the change by adding our structure. And TA gives us those tools because it gives us tools to analyze ourselves, it gives us tools to analyze the system, and helps us see how can we integrate this for the greater good of the organization in the given system. I remember I was invited to a company where a new CEO was brought in to a family-run company. And along with him, he had brought in some people from his previous company. And there was this struggle between those who had been donkey number of years in that company and the new people, because those who were there already believed that these new people have been brought in to replace them, though this was not the intention. And this caused the struggle. This coupled with the family way of working and the MBA way of working in conflict was the problem. So I was called in to run a program to bring peace between these groups. And we had a 2-day program on the beach, and I taught them strokes. Okay. And we had this beautiful session, and they learned so much about communication and strokes and so on and so forth. In the evening, the MD of the company came in. He had come with a plan of doing a lot of official work in the night. I had left, and next day morning when I went there, I don't know what you did to them, but they were all in such high spirits and was so bonded with each other. I realized bringing in my work would only spoil it. So I did not do that. We just enjoyed the time on the beach. I said, thank you for doing that. Next day morning, he was seated there, and I said, now you have come into this group and we have already formed. Therefore, it's important that we do something for you to integrate. And without knowing that I had taught strokes, this person said, I'll start. And he went around the whole circle, complimenting everybody, even remembering the time when he had interviewed them.
Oh,
And to one person, he even said, you're spending too much time for the organization. You should spend more time with your family. And that, I would say, is the Almighty's provision. That this person showed strokes in action without knowing that I had taught the topic.
wow.
And that is how change happens in an organization. When the will to bring about change is there, it manifests. And TA gives us lots of tools to create this manifestation.
Wow, that is a wonderful story, Susan. And I like the story of the beach when there was chaos and there's some is calm. And I have also noticed a lot of MDs who bring in work during a training workshop. For him to resist itself is telling something about what people felt in that workshop. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And this is someone at crossroads, perhaps a 40-year-old rethinking about their life's journey. What unique insights can TA provide for understanding their personal script and deciding their next chapter?
I did my TA 101 at 41.
Yes.
And from then on, my life has taken a new meaning. It was also at the time that I had just lost my father. And I was wondering, I had spent 14 years looking after my parents, and I was wondering, what do I do with myself? And that's when I met TA, and that made a big change. Later, I learned anthroposophy, and I think this 42 has a very significant meaning in anthroposophy. Rudolf Steiner says, before 42, life largely shapes you. At 42, you begin to shape life
Wow.
from within. Up to around 42, people are largely shaped by outer life, ambitions, and the development of the personality in the world. How do I influence the world? By reaching my goals. After 42, there is a turning inward, a growing need for meaning, wisdom, and spiritual orientation. This may be up there in front of some people, some it may not be obvious, but we are naturally wired for that. And TA gives us tools to grow this search for wisdom. Our scripts are our scaffolding for life. And at 40, we have had plenty of experiences which we can use to understand our inherent strengths and resources and identify the ones we have built through life and life's difficulties. TA gives us various perspectives to enhance our awareness of ourselves, our core needs, our hopes, and fantasies, along with the awareness of the reality of the context we are in. To look at the world with our eyes, and not through parental eyes, not through the filter of our beliefs. This helps us regain spontaneity, the capacity to look at various options in front of us and choose and act on them with wisdom and compassion to ourselves and others. TA also helps us recognize that I am not an island, nor am I completely dependent on the other. This helps us realize at 40 that I am where I am by the choices I have made, even though this choosing process may not be clear to us. Nobody can force us to do anything. We made some choice that we are experiencing as force. Recognizing this gives us the power to design the rest of our life. Recognizing the power of now, and that the influence of the past may or may not be there. These are the words of Byrne. Your past may influence your present, but your future will influence your present. We also, at this point, start realizing that it is in giving we receive, and therefore our willingness to give and enjoy the beauty of what we get. TA also makes us understand the power of love and gratitude. Love and gratitude invites abundance, and abundance is not material. And at 40, what we need is that abundance. The abundance in various facets which we have been experiencing lack, and realizing that this lack is not from the outside world. It's a lack because we blocked something. And when we remove those blocks, abundance flows. And that flow also heals us. Steiner emphasized that self-education becomes essential. The person must consciously work on transforming their thoughts, feelings, and will. Thea gives us plenty of tools to do this.
Thank you, Susan. Quite a fascinating journey and the end of a truly insightful conversation with real life examples and with lovely nuggets that we heard from Dr. Susan. What a journey has been today, Eric, delving into fascinating origins of Dr. Susan George's incredible career, how TA impacted her, and how she has influenced so much in TA and internalize it for herself. It's quite fascinating. It's a huge, huge learning for us.
Absolutely, Piyush. It's truly powerful how understanding the beginnings, core choices, motivations, early struggles provide such profound clarity for what we are today and where we are headed. It really helps us all settle into that knowing that I'm okay no matter where we come from.
Yeah, and that's exactly what was emphasized today. So, huge gratitude to you, Dr. Susan George, for generously sharing your origin story and other stories with profound insights with us. Truly honored to have you on our show.
And thank you, our wonderful listeners, for being with us on this journey of discovery. Your presence, your curiosity, that's what makes this all possible.
If you enjoyed today's deep dive into origins, please remember to subscribe to the OK Air on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a rating and review. It truly helps others discover our conversations.
Until next time, keep exploring your own origins, keep seeking that clarity, and always remember the OK Air.
See you next time.